Hey everyone, welcome to the Off Meta Podcast, episode 472. If you haven't seen all of them, you must have missed a couple, or we've been offline for the last year.
We were listening to a podcast on the way up here, and every episode for a while starts with, if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, just go back and listen to them. We'll wait. I was like, you're fucking recording. You're not doing me a favor? But we'll wait too, and that'd actually be a favor because, you know, it's a lot of content.
I'm having technical difficulties, anxiety. Is the camera on? Is it recording?
Hayley, don't ruin the podcast. That's our job. That's what we're here for. So, to introduce everyone, my name's Adam.
Wait.
Go on.
My name is Hayley.
All right, fine.
We spell this out in order of how a hat is spelled.
Or not out. What? You've just done it just so you go first. Normally we do alphabetical.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I have. And?
So what's your name again, sorry?
It's Hayley.
My name's Adam.
And I'm Chuck. No, my name's Tyler. Hat, that's the gimmick. We also call this podcast Too Fabled and the Jerk sometimes.
Only sometimes, though.
Only sometimes.
Only sometimes.
Yeah.
So we are here at Clocktower Con. Isn't this exciting? Did you believe this was ever going to happen? When I started playing Clocktower fervently, it was during the pandemic. Right? Anybody else have that experience? Start playing? Yeah, that was some shit, wasn't it? Did you ever think you were going to like turn around and be like, oh, let's get together with 500 or 600 people who also do this weird thing on Discord? Right?
For the people at home, only one person raised their hand.
I've only run into two.
No, there was a couple in there.
There was
a couple.
Well, by percentage, it was pretty hefty, if we're being honest.
Oh, no, I messed up and I stuck up for Tyler. That was my mistake.
I've only run into a couple people who were like, oh, you server muted me there. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, some of you may not have had much chance, but some of us were running games in person for like an 800-person group in New York City before, you know, this whole thing. But, you know, it's fine. Oh, thanks for turning me up. Appreciate it.
But only one fabled and a jerk run that group.
That's the dichotomy that you need to run a group in New York, right? It's a hard town.
That's true.
So today, in case you haven't noticed the screen up over here to the left, we're going to be ranking the new 3 characters that have been released over the last few weeks.
And this is our ranking of them, so good show. Y'all have a good time. Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we do that, though, we have some little treats for you. There's candy in a bag.
All of you at home.
Second row. Sucks to be you. Should have been at Clocktower Con. And we also, I am very proud of my arts and craft project that I decided to do 2 days before Clocktower Con. I was like, oh, let's do some business.
Procrastination, everybody! Yeah!
Let's have some business cards so that people know who we are. I decided.
This is an interesting idea. Let Hayley explain to you the business cards that we have.
You don't just get 1. You don't get 2. Not even 3. You get 4
4
business cards.
You get 4 because basically I handmade Skull as off-meta business cards. So we have these circles at the front. If you take a stack, there are 3 that just have a QR code, and the 4th has a skull. So if you take them away, you can play Skull with each other whenever you want to.
Yeah. So
I thought it was a great idea, and then I printed out 500 and cut them by hand with a circle cutter. I got to 160, my friends.
So as people that
160.
As people that play in person a lot, what we would say is we have run into the experience where you are sometimes waiting for a couple of people to arrive. So you may sit there and play another game in the meantime. This is something where you're sat around the circle, you can just play it on your knee with whoever's there. Like, I mean, I know. And the QR code, if you scan it, not only does it obviously take you to our link tree so that you can find out more information about how to get to our podcast. Thank you for watching. But also it gives you the rules for Skull. So if you don't know what the hell Skull is or how to play it, here's another great little social deception deduction game for you to try out.
And Skull plays up to 5 people, so that's a lot of folks on your knee. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I think that the horny in CT thing has gotten to me since I've been here. Anyway. All right. So we're going to kick off. I mean, we're kind of sort of doing these in order, even though we're not ranked. This is not our ranking, right?
Is that the order we're doing? Man, we're so prepared as usual.
Yeah, I guess that means it's me first. Because as everyone knows, I tend to make the most mistakes when we're reading these things out. So I get the shortest one. Let's see if we can get through this. because it's been a year, I think, almost since I've done one of these before. Night. You start knowing 2 players that are not the demon.
Woo! Hey, nailed it.
So this was supposed to be the big Clocktower Con release, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the
And
one.
it was released here.
Yeah, it was.
It was supposed to be, and it was.
And it was. You got to give them some props for organizational efficiency, okay?
Right, Emily has done such a great job with this con.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, for sure.
it was supposed to be, and it happened.
It happened. But
ready
there was
to
a
start?
wait. There's more quality to this, which we'll get to in a little bit. So who's talking about this one first?
Hayley is.
Haley is, okay.
And I've just got to my notes right.
I was taking that by the body language of her using with her thumb to move through the notes.
Oh my God! Why did I close this? So I have exactly 0 experience with the night. I legit couldn't have told you what it did a week ago. And one of the perks of being a fabled storyteller is that you know what all of the potential up-and-coming roles are. I didn't know it existed. Good job, me. It does sound quite fun, though, to play. I wasn't entirely convinced when I heard about it a week ago, but I think Ed's reveal of it last night has maybe improved my opinion. I was ready to just throw it in a sea and be like, whatever, I don't care. It's not on Trouble Brewing. But yeah, I think Ed did a good job of the reveal, and so good job, Ed. Well, I actually thought he would be here because he likes to give us shit. He likes to, yeah, he really does. When we're doing this podcast, because you've seen all prior 416 episodes, Ed will try and get into our voice channel on Discord where we do this every week.
We had to move to a private channel to get away from it.
Did, to be like, no, this is wrong. That's not how you do it, Hayley.
We also never sleep in the same place twice. We're a roving guerrilla band.
Don't give Ed your address. Don't give Ed your address.
I don't know. I saw him in a tank top a little while ago. I think he's getting my address.
Okay. Do we need to take the sticker off of you? Is that what's up?
Lost my mind.
Amber, could you sort this out?
Convention time.
It does sound quite fun to play, though. I imagine that it's you know like how a chef at Trouble Brew and everything would. Oh, so new players tend to like to say everything all at once on everywhere on the first day, but you tend to learn as you go along. But maybe you should keep some stuff hidden a little bit because it only helps the evil team. I imagine that that's how this would play out as well. Like you're going to want to hold that information until a really pertinent point in the game, so that you can maybe change people's minds about where they're going to vote when they learn that actually this person probably isn't a demon because we have this knight who maybe has been confirmed in some other way. So I think it can be quite powerful, and it can build super trust circles. I think what?
No, I was going to say continuing hat though. It's Tyler next.
Is it? Oh no, that's wrong. I bet it's annoying to be up against as an evil team.
So let me ask you a question real quick, Hayley.
Yeah.
If Ed came in around town with like a straw hat and a little cane,
Yeah.
and was like, "Hi, I'm selling monorails. Have you heard of the monorail? Would you buy one?"
I don't have personal need for a monorail.
Oh, well, but I think you would based on what you just said. He comes in, you're ready to bend this thing because it's kind of mediocre, and you go, "Oh, God, Ed had some pertinent points. Sometimes information helps. Yeah, sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes your information works against you. Let's put this bad boy on Trouble Brewing. Let's do it.
No.
You want to put the
let's
no. Let's put the knight on Trouble Brewing, okay? Two players are not the demon. One of them just happens to be a minion. Oh, Star Pass. I spewed forth all my information. I'm going to Star Pass that bad boy, right? Or it's a Scarlet Lady.
It's Scarlet Woman.
Well, I mean,
Come on.
she's a lady.
Don't argue with the Trouble Brewing person.
Yeah. Scarlet Lady is what I always call my Queens of Hearts, right? When I'm doing my little 3-card Monty. Can you find the Scarlet Lady? If me and Ed have a 2-parter where we go try to sell monorails and I do con things. Anyway, I think I'm just giving Hayley a little bit of flack, but I don't know that anything that anybody says about. I think there are types of players, and if you can do more in your games to get the right types of players with the right types of roles that make them feel comfortable in the game, that's great. That's actually not how the game is meant to be played. But if it helps your group, then there will be fabled roles in the future that can allow that to happen, at least online, right? But if you have a player and you go, man, they're going to be out of their depth, or they'll be hesitant because similar roles that get that kind of information would include like Snake Charmer, right? Oh, I just pick myself. I don't want to do something wrong. Okay. This fulfills a similar function without the risk factor, and maybe for some of your players that would be great. I feel like the Knight is a role that performs well in lower player counts, right? And I think that's really present a lot in Australia, where the people who make these roles live. A smaller player counts. So over that 15-player game I just ran, I don't think the Knight would really scratch the surface at all. And I think that makes it tough on it long term. Though if you got cannibals and pixies, I guess you could do some interesting things with it even then. So I think it's a good comfort role. It's like a little blanket that they sent out with the con. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's a really nice analogy.
Yeah.
We could all use a little bit of sleep as well. I think everybody could use a little bit extra sleep, right?
Good point. And
Because
the Knight is a boring role, which would help you go to sleep.
Because we've been playing Clocktower basically 24/7 since yesterday. That's why we need sleep.
Yeah, I understand. But in the Knight, and like you said, the Knight helps because that's
'Cause
when you
it's a
go to
blanket.
sleep sometimes.
All
And
right.
it's a
All right.
blanket.
No
Go ahead,
arguing
Adam.
on off meta. We're all going to agree here on this character, surely, I'm sure. So my opinion, if you're done, Tyler, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Please.
Thank you. My opinion is I thought the
Us
Knight...
fabled need to hear the opinions of our lessers to know where we stand with the world. We don't want to get disconnected. Go ahead.
My opinion of the Knight, originally when I first saw it, was trash. I thought, absolutely, what on earth is Steve thinking with this? It is, I'll put this another way for you. The Knight is Fortune Teller 0 on night 1. And how many times has Fortune Teller 0 on night 1 won you the game? Now, but whenever you sit there and think, and the thing about getting into Steve's heads, it's a dangerous place to try and get into. Mm-hmm. But one of the times when you're trying to do it and think about it is, what is Steve actually thinking, and when does this become useful? And Ed brought out 2 banging examples in his introduction for this. And I don't know if they've gone online yet, and maybe our podcast will get to it first. So I'm going to steal Ed's thunder. If you are putting this on a script with a Legion, you now potentially know the only other good players in that game on a Legion game. If you're putting it on there with a Vortox, it is now a Sage on night one, basically. You now know that the evil is between those two. And that's what Steve's thinking about. Steve's not thinking about Fortune Teller 0 night 1. Steve's thinking about, how do I make this useful? How do I create a character that's useful in other and weird situations that players may not be thinking about, or may not have an opportunity to use this in normally, or have an example of using this normally. And Ed brought out 2 bangers. There are some others out there that I know are going up on the wiki that I think everyone's going to really enjoy. So I'm not going to steal Ed's thunder on all that stuff, but I would say it's definitely worth taking a look at the Knight and thinking about how you can use that on your scripts and where else it could come in and make it ususeful. Now, I also have a couple of tips for it.
Like what you're saying is Steve is big brain and you are smooth brain.
They are. No, in all seriousness, just Steve's not an idiot, right? The guy came up with Blood on the Clock Tower. He kind of is pretty good at this, right? In terms of scripts, in terms of characters that are on those scripts. He hasn't made a terrible character yet. There's
That
been
you've
released.
seen.
That you've seen.
On. If you've watched all 416 episodes, you've seen Adam come out the gates being like, this is shit, this is
Juggler?
trash.
Yep. Did you
I
hear
wish I'd
Tyler
made
the
a
Juggler?
D tier.
Yeah, but now I know Steve watches these podcasts. He's giving us feedback. So I'm going to be a little... No.
Come on.
I'm joking.
So here's what happened this morning, everybody. James Capelli, my dear friend, woke up and made a big old batch of Kool-Aid, and then Adam went head first into that and has drank the Kool-Aid on this thing. This is despicable. I won't stand for it. We had a current group think. We all agreed. And then people just come in and they say things and now you change your mind? That's not how anything works. You stay with your opinion until you die or someone kills you.
Yeah.
I know what
That
you're saying.
works real well through history.
So a couple of tips for running this that I'm going to say to people running, when you start adding this character into your games for your groups that you run for. Think about how you're going to add this one as a character that gets information. Your temptation is going to be there on night one if you add it into Trouble Brewing to show them the Scarlet Woman and stuff. I'm going to say don't do that. Build up trust with this character first. Build up trust that people are going to trust that this person coming out saying, hey, I'm the knight, I'm good, or else people are going to start hating it and being dreadful of, oh, I've drawn the knight, why have I drawn this crap again? Like, it's always bullshit information. Create a meta where it is useful information, really helps your team, and then break that fucking meta. Then burn the town with it. Like, use it afterwards, but create trust first, and then do that. Don't start off, because otherwise you're going to have it in a bag that players aren't going to want to draw from. But if you have it be good and honest and truthful for your town 90% of the time, you're going to be okay with it, and I think people will have fun and look forward to playing it in your games.
A counterpoint to that in terms of script building, maybe not show the Scarlet Woman or something like that, but if you have an imp and a Fangu, anywhere where the demon is mobile, right, and the knight is shown someone that could possibly be a demon in the future, that incentivizes those players to not do that thing that was described earlier about that new players sometimes do, or just people in general. They go, oh, I got my information, here it is, I spew forth, I'm willing to be executed, right? It can add some tactical depth to the character, to the role, if they have to hide that for a while, sit on it, and then, like Hayley said earlier, keep it close to the vest, and then you can spring the trap, right?
All traps, all the time.
Yeah, I do like that. That's a really good point about using it the other way around as well to show them who it could be potentially become in the future, especially if that person then goes up to them and you show them the outsiders, 2 outsiders in the game. It could be very useful.
Yeah. So where do we actually want to rank this, though? Because so in our rankings, let memory serve, how does it do on its base script? Doesn't have one, doesn't have a home script.
A tier for that.
A tier. How easy is it to storytell with? I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? I think you could give this to any new storyteller. How good is it as a bluff for the evil team?
Pretty good for minions, not great for demon unless you've got some way of bouncing out of there, right?
Yeah, it's crappy demon bluff. But in the scenario that you're talking about with the with the Legion type of thing, it can become a good one, right? But the Vortox, it is a great minion bluff in that Vortox scenario, right? Because that player goes, I think we're in a Vortox game based on other information. One of these 2 players is the demon, or I'm evil, right? So now you've got 3 executions just lined up, ready to go, and that takes a lot of heat off your demon. So all that stuff can be pretty effective as a bluff, I think.
So sounds like it's effective. What else do we do? How fun is it to play?
I think it falls down there a touch, right? Like, it's not going to be a lot of fun for most people to play. But I think if you compare it, though, to where else... So we also compare that funness and all these points to normally the other characters in its pool, right?
Yes.
So we should be comparing this against the Washerwoman, Librarian, Investigator, Clockmaker, and stuff like that,
Pixie.
right? Pixie, I guess, too. And even so, when I look at all of those, no. No. It's not as good as any of those, right?
Really?
I don't think it's as good as any of those.
I don't know. Like, sometimes it feels when you have one of those the Trouble Brewing start 4, the top 4, as it used to be,
Side-by-side 4 now.
The side-by-side 4. I suppose they're still at the top. Oh my God, tangent. Yeah. It can feel a little like you didn't... I guess it's on the level with the chef. I can't remember where we ranked the chef.
I'm going to say C.
Really?
I don't know for sure.
No, I think y'all pushed the chef up to A almost.
Yeah. Isn't the chef on creme de la creme?
Well, we also compare the chef to the Clockmaker, and the Clockmaker
wins out. Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's not the demon just feels super powerful, but I guess not the demon actually isn't that. Like, it's too much of the script, I suppose.
All right. So
now I'm talking myself in circles.
Now that you've got all that, Tyler, where do you think it rates S3C?
Let me make this very simple. It is situational, and based on our criteria, if the script caters to it, then it can be effective. If it's just plugged into a number of different scripts, not that you should do that with roles, but its versatility, I think, is limited. It's going to get a lot less mileage on certain scripts. like we said, where the demon is mobile. It'll feel kind of useless. Just go ahead and execute me. That vibe is not my favorite vibe for players to have. That just go ahead and execute me, I'm done. I would give the knight a B on that basis. So situationally pretty cool. Most of the time, a little one trick of a pony. Learn some other tricks, pony.
Maybe its pony died. It's the knight, isn't it? So it needs a new horse.
Yeah, little Sebastian. That was a sad day. That was a great fucking horse.
Reverse hat then, so I'll go next. It's a really interesting point because even in those parts where it's situationally amazingly effective for town, it could still be a little bit railroady and therefore not great for the game experience. So even now, I'm interested. I'm surprised that you said B because I probably still would go C with it. Yeah, I mean it's great for town as like an ability in certain situations and key situations, but overall, I don't know. I think it's a C.
So I started off this saying that I was ready to put it in C because what's the point? So I guess
You going to agree with me or agree with Tyler?
I actually
see if she really loves Ty.
I do think it's a little better than I originally was going to give it credit for. So I do think I'd probably put it in B. I think it can probably work well in a lot of places, but exactly like Tyler said, situational. I don't think it's a C though. Like we've got some jugglers in C, Adam.
We never have the benefit of having y'all. I mean, y'all are chat, I guess, right? What do you think?
B is my
Are we
heart.
right? Is it a B roll in your hearts?
Yeah.
High C.
High C.
Ectoplasm flavor, right?
Stop.
79, yeah.
Are
Some
there
places round that up now. Yeah.
Are there any dissenting opinions in the audience? Like, are any of you like, this is S tier, this is the best thing I've ever seen?
Really? Patters says yes. That's crazy.
What?
Patters from Patters TV. Why?
I like that. Someone said that Patrick from Patrick TV.
Patrick _ secret. Secret
All right.
_ Patrick.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Sidetrack. Thanks, Jesse. It's like the butler of townsfolk.
That's
Low pressure, you get a little bit of info, you kick back. And
Butler of townsfolk, super low pressure, and you get to kick back. It is. I don't know. Want to be that? So yeah, you haven't changed your mind. Still C. Leviathan. I think what I'm learning here is we don't let Carl talk again. No, I'm joking. Carl, that was a really good point. I'm sorry. I can't help but be a dick. I don't know what it is. Like.
Adam has never once thought about a Leviathan script in his life.
That's absolutely true. You want to just say it? I'm like, man, no.
One time
C
I
and a
read a
C
game with the
equals
Leviathan.
C.
He said, "That's the best. I never thought it could be played that way. I never thought it could be good." I was like, "Do you remember anything from it?" No. He like wipes it from his mind. But that's a good point. I think maybe a Leviathan script. I mean, and you got to keep in mind, like Adam said earlier, these roles were not designed to fill the gaps in base 3 scripts, right? So these could be combined with some other roles that we don't really, I say we, y'all don't really know about in interesting ways.
and me, I don't know about.
And Hayley, who just won't read the thing.
All right. Seeing as we're 30 minutes into
All right,
it so
let's do
far,
it.
what's next?
What's next? Next.
Snacks.
So good.
Snacks.
Next. Next is snacks. There's snacks on a chair. Next is the organ grinder. All players keep their eyes closed when voting, and the vote tally is secret. Votes for you only count if you voted. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, it's all right. No, I'm joking. This organ grinder might be the best minion that Steve has ever come up with, and I assume it's Steve's. If it was someone else that came up with it and gave it to Steve, good job. But I think organ grinder. So here's the thing with me, right? I like games that really change the dynamic. And if any of you haven't watched it, we recently uploaded it. I think it was just before the con started. I think it went live.
Thursday.
A game where Tyler was an amnesiac with the organ grinder ability. But that added to. But
Can we
back
just
up,
step in for
back
just
up.
1 second? That video ended with one of the players, Benny, laughing his ass off because we couldn't really put what Tyler thought about his amnesiac ability out there.
Yeah, so it was so look, so Organ Grinder, the reason I love it isn't because you get to give the amnesiac necessarily that ability. That wasn't the douche thing I was enjoying there. It was the fact that it allows you to really change the dynamic of the game and add different ways in for things to interact. I love characters and things that really change the dynamic of the game, and the Organ Grinder is absolutely S tier for that role, that reason alone. It completely changed the dynamics. You can't get, if you're even, like, so when we're ranking why we like this, shut up. When we're ranking why we love these characters, where we rank them on these characters, it is a great minion. You want it in the game if you're a minion. It can fit pretty much on any script. Like, I can't think of a script where it isn't going to work. Like, there is no script isn't going to work. I threw it on the absolute worst script I think I've ever created for at the first night of its release for a quick game of 14 players, and everyone had a blast with it in the game. It was a lot of fun. If you didn't, no one told me the truth. But I think everyone had a great time with it. So I think it can work on pretty much any script, which is part of the criteria we talk about. Yep. It's great fun to be. Yeah, I think it's just S tier. I just can't. I look at it and I go, there isn't much of anything of a drawback that makes me not love it.
Tyler?
Oh, is it my turn now?
I think it's your
Unfortunately.
turn. After that lyrical waxing lyrical. From
all right, so if I told you, here's a minion, and what it does is that you stop playing Blood on the Clock Tower and you play Uno. And if you win Uno, you win Blood on the Clock Tower. You'd be like, wow, that really changed the game. Sure did. You wouldn't be satisfied with that. You wouldn't feel necessarily, or to make it more pertinent to Adam, all of a sudden you're playing Avalon. We're playing Avalon now. Let's go on quests and shit. I like Avalon. Some things do change the game in a way that no longer feel like the game anymore, right? So part of the deduction is, oh, those people are aligning. That vote seems to go with that vote a lot. They seem to make sure that they pulled that person off the block. And no visibility of that is in itself very powerful, right? That's powerful stuff. We'd agree with that? Round of applause for power. No, you idiots, fight the power. That's what we've been saying for years. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so that's a cool power on its own. And then you combine that with like, oh, I'm also kind of immortal. Yay! So we never can get out of that condition. None of our deduction, none of what we do can do anything at that point because this player, we don't get a sense of how people are playing the game in terms of the voting. And the voting is a big part of what makes Clock Tower what it is. I can read based on those things, or sometimes minions overcompensate by going, I'm going to vote on my demon so people trust me. And then it's like, oh, now your demon's on the block and, oh, now dead. Good job. Right, so you got uber trusted in your loss. Anyway, so I think the Organ Grinder takes away a lot of that, and the fact that if you are not enjoying that experience as a part of that game, there's really nothing you can do about it. There should be a mechanism in the Preacher. Everybody familiar with the Preacher in here? Townsfolk ability that if they choose a minion, that minion no longer gets their ability. Well, the Organ Grinder and the Preacher currently have a jinx where they can't be in the same game. They seem like a natural counter to each other, but they can't be in play at the same time. So all of that combined, and that's weird. We'll get to that in a little while about something else, but that jinx does not exist for the Psychopath Preacher. Weird. But the Organ Grinder, it does. So I think all of that kind of contributes to a play which is like, if it's your thing, if that's your jam, you will enjoy this, and that's really cool. If it's not your jam and you like the experience that you get from Clock Tower, generally, most of the time, then you're not going to get that from your Organ Grinder game.
So I haven't really seen any eyes closed voting through the convention yet. Does that maybe speak to what Tyler's saying, that maybe people don't want to play it? Oh, three games? Oh, okay. I've not been paying attention, I guess. Surprise, surprise there. So maybe Tyler is completely wrong about it. I mean, I personally really adore roles that change up that meta. It is fun, Tyler.
Show of hands, who here loves Riot? Woo! Well, I found 3 liars. That was cool. That was good. Let's start a riot. That's 3 liars. Riot. I mean, that's my counterpoint to that. And now I think Organ Grind. I'm gonna show my hand now because I'm taking an extreme position for the purpose of this. I think Organ Grinder's better and more functional than Riot. But Riot changes the game, and I know they don't like Riot. I know most people don't like Riot games because it doesn't. Why? Because it doesn't feel like Clocktower. If you were playing another game in which the Riot mechanic was the base mechanic, we'd probably all go, well, "That was a lot of fun. Let's play another one. Let's write." I mean, because it takes 5 minutes or whatever, you know.
I mean, I'm just really a fan of like power naps, though. I'm a real
good call.
advocate for the micro nap, and you can do that a lot in an Organ Grinder game.
Well, you have your night as a blanket, and you can take your micro nap.
Exactly.
So talk about the counters to the organ grinder, right? I think the part of the organ grinder is when you build it on the script, when you're building a script that it needs to have that option for good to be able to get rid of it. I think it does need that. I think it needs a way for good or the storyteller to be able to get rid of it, because it's very important. If you see the twist of the game going against good, you need a way to be able to help good out back to balance it out. And that could be getting rid of the organ grinder so they can go back to vote counting. There are certain players that you probably have in your groups or that you know that play online or that you've seen on the streams that like to be able to do certain things, and removing that from their gameplay is going to be detrimental to them. So giving them a way to get control back, either with a sailor, innkeeper that gets to select every night now that they think they know what it is going to be useful for you to be able to then drunk them and all of, because that's what I did on my 14-player game. There was a sailor picked it one night, so when everyone vote starting for Jack, starting in 3-2, and everyone's like, I don't need to close my eyes. No, you don't. Carry on, and then just did the vote round. Unfortunately, they didn't kill the organ grinder at that point because they didn't quite realize in time that they didn't have to close their eyes. But it's still, there is options out there, I think, outside of just the preacher to make it a little bit more balanced and give good a chance to take that control back.
But, I mean, yes, okay.
But there needs to be a better jinx to the preacher than just don't have it in the game. Steve.
What kind of rapper name is Steve?
That's not an OG.
Yeah, I think you just. I mean, I think you've got a workaround because the sailor doesn't have a permanent effect that they can move it. But once the sailor realizes that, like, unless there's just a lot of reasons why other things could be poisoned or drunken in terms of minions, or like the poisoner poisoned the organ grinder to sell. I mean, I guess there are factors there that can make it interesting, but you basically have to make it the center of the game and the center of the script. It's kind of one of those roles.
There needs to be a good quadrant of the script. I don't necessarily know about the whole script, but there needs to be a good quadrant around it for it to play around with on the script, I think.
I mean, why wouldn't you want a monkey on your script, though?
Because when they get to a certain age, they're very aggressive.
They also like to fling poop. So.
Flinging shit. I mean, that's kind of what it does, I guess.
Do you know that there were people that went out on the streets and attacked organ grinders in London because it's just such an obnoxious sound?
I don't actually even know what the sound is.
One of them was Charles Babbage, the creator of the analog computer.
Are you serious?
I am 100% serious.
I need a fact check.
Okay.
Tyler's up here spewing shit. I thought monkeys threw it. I didn't know you could spew it as well. No, I'm sure it's true.
So if we're gonna rank it and back to our usual stuff, how easy is it to run? I think anybody could do this, right? I mean, in fact, it probably takes a little bit of pressure off you as a storyteller. I think that.
Yeah,
it's good
no,
for
it does.
Yeah.
Remember the counts, though. I already forget how many people voted when I can see them.
Well, the only thing
Do you have it? Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, you do have to remember the counts, but you kind of have to remember the counts anyway. So you only kind of have to remember the top count and the number. Like, it's the same thing, really, if you're running it with your eyes open or eyes closed. The good thing that it adds is, suddenly, it's the vote on the organ grinder. I only need to check if, is the organ grinder ready to have? No. So it does take a little bit of pressure off on some of them. And I do think it's easier to run and go through that circle because you get to take a look around. You don't have to do a loud count. You could even just step back. You don't have to do it in the middle of the thing and count round. You can step back and count, 4, done. Great. Everyone lower your hands, open your eyes.
I agree with this blue-shirted gentleman because sometimes you got to lean on your players and be like, what was that vote? Okay.
The guy in the audience, I see.
He got a blue shirt.
I was like, I don't have a blue shirt on. That's just my ego. Like, Tyler's got to be talking about me.
Why would he be talking about you?
At least you don't die when you hit a planet in Star Trek, right? You're a blue shirt. All right. So what are we gonna rate it?
So S.
You said S. Hayley, what do you think? Or I can give it a go.
I mean, I would probably pull it down to an A because what is the counter to it really? Like, how do you get it out of the game? Like, they control that really.
Were you listening?
No.
Did you have that power on micronap again? Like,
Yes, I did. I was. Why would I listen to you? You used to. Oh man. Okay. I don't know. I think I would pull it down to an A.
Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't fit.
Titles bring it down to a C. So
Well, I'm at a certain point in my clock tower running life and career where I can see where players sometimes get a little sick and tired of storytellers basically dictating the mechanical results completely. And the sailor innkeeper solution is a storyteller choice. And I don't want to take away storytellers' choices. Obviously, I think there's a lot of interesting things that storytellers should do and can do, but where you have a hard counter where these roles seem like, I think it should be good for the script to say, if an organ grinder is being kind of gloaty about it and there's nothing you can do and people aren't having fun with it, then a preacher is a good counter to that. And it's not up to the storyteller whether or not they want to run the vote a certain way or not, right? But I still think it's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. And I think it's going to be an effective minion because it's not, it's not something where it rules them out as a demon candidate down the line. And on that basis, I would give it an A. I would go with Hayley and say it's an A, but I don't think I could give it an S tier on par with some of the things that we've had in the S because I just don't think it. I think it dominates too much of the play experience in a way that just doesn't feel like Clocktower anymore.
Where did we put the psychopath? Wasn't that S tier?
it probably is.
That's because of its fun little mini game. And unless you actually break out Uno in the middle.
It is an interesting one. Maybe this does need a fun little mini game. Definitely not more. Maybe not rock paper scissors. Maybe we go tic tac toe. Maybe we go
Shuttle run.
What is it called? The flick football?
First to 10 in flick football.
Find another mini game that you can play. Oh, do you know what the mini game is? Skull. You break out skull. You break
get
out
these
the little
skulls,
off
you
meta.
play it on my legs. Knees. It was knees.
On your legs to work. These are part of your legs.
So I think the best version of the mini game would be just to have the person who's nominated on the block. They pick 4 other players of their choice. Those players all go into a Teensyville. If they win the Teensyville, that's ultimate clock tower.
You know Teensyville's 5 players, right?
I know. So it's them plus 4
Oh,
other
them
players.
plus 4.
Yeah.
I see. Got it.
They get to pick though.
They get to pick the 4.
Oh man.
Or you can just have it on the fly popularity contest. Get the fiddler out a lot more. You know what I mean?
So
but we're just fiddling to see who you like more.
You can stop bringing up the fiddler. No one needs to talk about that Fable character. So I think this is going well so far. B and an A. What we got left in the next 19 minutes?
We got the Vizier. All players know who you are. You cannot die during the day. If good voted, you may choose to execute immediately.
Well, damn. You know, we dropped a podcast video like a week ago, I think, because Adam in his infinite...
Why are we bringing this up for? We're talking about the Vizier.
Editing power. I'm getting there. Infinite editing power just cut the video too soon and we missed off the atheist. So we had to do like a mini version where he put all of that content back in for the atheist. The atheist was one of those roles that was on an early version, I think maybe still on Kel Surprise, which is Adam's experimental script, one of many. And this is another one like that was on one of those versions that I'm so excited to talk about now. It is so good that we can finally talk about it. I did actually know about this one beforehand, unlike the night. I've never been a Vizier, but I've been in Vizier games. And oh my God, is it annoying when you're on the good team to be in one of those games. But it adds a new dynamic. It adds a different element. Part of why I really like the fabled roles as they are is because they do sort of add something a little bit special. And Outward Evil is always fun to play from the get-go, right? That's why we ranked the Psychopath as an S tier.
And the Baron. The Baron lets you play this
as Outward Evil if you want to. We have Organ Grinder. Adam would say that was definitely an S tier, I think. again, outed evil, like, you know it's in play. I mean, like, you don't know who it is specifically with the organ grinder, but with the Vizier, you know who it is. And that person can just kind of kick back and, you know, have a chill, but also mad, chaotic time. I think that this is probably an S tier. It does have crazy power, but that's balanced by its outedness. So, you know, what's bad about it? I don't know. I think
That's a good place to end it. Because Tyler, what is bad about it?
Why is Tyler the Grouch in this episode?
Because I live in a garbage can.
The horny grouch. It's
Horny
the
Grouch.
horny grouch. A new play on Sesame Street.
I live in the garbage can outside of an old sex shop. After they cleaned up Times Square, right? I think the problem with it is I think it's going to end up being a lot like the Psychopath. I think we evaluate the Psychopath higher than maybe it really is because of the fun of some of the people that we'd had around us, right? And they enjoy it so much that it was just like, well, it's hard to argue with that level of joy, right? But I think the Psychopath is a beautiful loser, which is a phenomenal Bob Seger song, and the Silver Bullet Band. Anyway, and I think the Vizier will end up being a beautiful loser as well. I think because it takes one candidate away from being the demon, that it will just it'll make the worlds a lot easier to snap into place and go, all right, we have this person as an evil. I think we can push on that. You'll probably never push on the Vizier unless you have something that, you know, you have demons that can swap with their minions, namely the imp, right? Now, we did have an instance I thought would have been interesting in a game I ran a little while ago where I thought the demon had an opportunity to barber swap themselves with their Vizier. I thought that could have been fun. They chose not to do that. You know, it was still fun, but that's another possibility. Any place where the Vizier can change, if you set up in your mind as a player, oh, they're the Vizier, they're the Vizier, they're the Vizier. Oh, no, they're not. Right? It's hard for them to go, I just didn't feel like executing today. No big deal.
You're giving me amnesiac ideas right now, Tom. I just want to warn you.
So a current game I'm playing with myself and Adam is I'm telling him the weirdest things I can think of until I want to find that limit where he goes, gross. Why would you do that to people or animals?
We're talking about amnesiac abilities. I just want to be clear, Ty, because you've been on this whole horny train for a while now. I just want to bring people in to make sure they know.
I like to play Blood on the Clock Tower with my cats. Thank you very much. I think that's really the issue. The only issue I have with the Vizier, the only other issue is that it falls into the line of its unkillable nature, right? So it kind of, I do think there's some interest, and I'm kind of moving back towards something that Adam was saying about the organ grinder, though the organ grinder's drunkenness is a little more apparent, right? So if the organ grinder's drunk, you see this whole other mechanical effect that happens. But if the Vizier happens to be drunk one night, you don't know until you test it.
Yep.
Or day, I should say, right? So if they were innkeeper drunk, maybe we should try this. Maybe they're drunk today, right? And you learn something on that basis at that time. Maybe you get them. Maybe you get that Vizier.
And I think that may be why the preacher is hard locked against it, because it becomes straight away obvious.
It's not hard locked against the Vizier.
No, against the organ grinder, because instantly you know it has been preached, and therefore that's the problem with it.
It still makes me sad.
It needs to have a better jinx, is still what I'm saying. Sorry,
it's
organ
another
grinder.
one with a better...
Vizier has a great... You were showing me a great Vizier investigator jinx.
Yes.
Can you tell them about that?
Yeah, so So I don't know if this is fully public yet. I don't actually know what's gone up about the Vizier,
But here we go anyway.
But the investigator is a great jinx, in my opinion, with the Vizier, because what happens is the investigator becomes, obviously then, if they are shown the Vizier, they are the only player that gets to find out about the Vizier is in play. So now the Vizier has an interesting situation. If the investigator comes out straight away day one, that one of these two is the Vizier. The Vizier now has an interesting problem. Do they now completely confirm that player is the investigator, almost creating like a virgin type situation? Almost creating it, because there is obviously ways for evil to bluff and lie about this. But it does create that really interesting situation where now the Vizier has the choice. Do they completely confirm that investigator, or do they just come out and still be the Vizier? So I think that's a great... Steve, well done. All right, we don't need to give Steve a round of applause. He makes money from this. So
I imagine the Vizier is super fun to play as if you're evil. You get to choose who to execute. But it can stall a game in a couple of ways because of the Vizier itself, and also because of that possibility of it being drunk is really the only way to get rid of it. It can stall it because of the possibility of it being a drunk is the only way to get rid of it. Where's my thought train? Gone.
well, let me
So
step
what
in there.
it stalls is it makes good more hesitant to vote on anything.
That and-
right? So you're
okay,
not
so
getting
we-
enough votes.
So it does the opposite of stalling.
No.
No, it does stall,
no.
right? It not the behaviors it teaches. We saw this early on in a game. It was people's first game with the Vizier. They're going, don't vote on this. Don't anyone vote on this.
Yeah.
Right? Because then they can push this through even with 2 votes. So now no good is voting at all unless they build consensus outside of that vote, which I actually don't think is as bad a thing. But if your group is used to making all their decisions right there when they put their hands up, that's when they make the choice, not before, then yeah, you're never gonna get enough to put somebody on the block.
Or the other way I think it could stall it is if you're on the good team and looking for that drunk, and you're kind of a little bit fast and loose with your votes, like I would just be whatever if there was I have been just whatever if there was a Vizier in game. I will
Hayley.
risk dying. It's fine. Are you testing that Vizier every day to check if they're drunk to see maybe today's the day you can kill them, and that's again a stall on the game because it's not wasting time, but it's a lot of time taken just to check that.
What do you think? What are we grading it?
I mean, I haven't said anything about it yet.
Yeah, tell us. Well, you told us about the jinx. You said you wanted us
Oh,
to...
I get that one thing? Thanks, Ty.
Well, it
I'll
was-
remember that next time.
It was the most interesting thing.
I just want to say is the gunslinging psychopath, outed evil baron, the controls skills. Like, I don't get, what is there not to love about this thing? Like, what is there not to love about it? So I am also going to say, storyteller tips again. Every script going forward you ever make and you want to add either an organ grinder or a Vizier or a poppy grower, you add all 3. Going forward, that's what I love this combination so much. Poppy grower, Vizier, organ grinder. Evil team doesn't know each other. I am evil to everyone. I hate everyone equally. That is my thing. And I think it is so much fun to have that in play. Just do it. Just run a couple of games like it and you will see. And you'll be able to go around going, you know, Adam's right. I see why he's the #1 fabled storyteller.
Or people are saying, why does Adam storytell like he hates you?
Yeah, give that a whirl. So yeah, sorry, go on. Where were we ranking it?
So are you saying you give it an S?
I think
If there's nothing, if it's a gun-slinging, barren, badass,
psychopath. Yes.
psychopath.
It's absolutely wonderful. It has none. Even if you talk about like the drawbacks of the organ grinder, where you can't get rid of it easily if you're good, or it becomes very obvious and you need to get rid of it that day while you've got a chance. Like it doesn't have that drawback. And yes, you're saying it's a beautiful loser, and I agree, but I am happy to be a beautiful. I lose so often when I play fucking Blood on the Clock Tower. I am more than happy to let it be a beautiful experience at that moment in time too. So yes, it's S tier for me. And I don't even know if I'm going to let you guys say anything on this one. I think I'm just going to make it S tier because I am controlling the pen.
Where's the mini game, Adam? There's no mini game, and that's why it's psychopath. I was proposing that before when we come back from the con, we should just end our Clock Tower streams on Thursday and just do rock paper scissors. For a couple hours.
Because everyone loves that.
Because everybody just gets so fucking psyched. It's like, now we're going to the Overall Ship.
Everyone does that. It's so funny.
It's amazing.
You hear it like
is context.
if you can tell when it's happening out there as well, because suddenly for no reason, it's not like
Yeah.
even a nomination time. Like it's barely been happening, and all of a sudden everyone's like standing up and cheering and like.
Yeah,
Like you're watching people
that-
play
that
rock,
wasn't the
paper,
end of the game?
scissors. Wait, let's do it.
No, I'm not losing to you on stage. Right.
all right, so you're saying S.
I think it's gotta
Hayley,
be
what do
S.
you think?
I don't know.
High C again?
I want to say S. I wanted to say S with organ grinder. It probably is an A, but I mean, like Town knows that the Vizier just rode in to fuck up their shit. Right? I kind of love that about it. I feel like the idea you were having about a Clock Tower cinematic universe, there would have to be a Vizier in it. Like what a visual for that.
Wow, that's a great segue. And based on that segue is going to get an S. in my tier rankings of segues.
You know,
You know what? I'm gonna relent
know.
to what y'all are saying about the Vizier in terms of grade, and I want to say, you've convinced me. You swayed me with your coherent arguments. I do think it's a beautiful loser, but who cares about winning here in this room? Anybody? No, we don't care about winning. Andrew in California, it's an experience. It's barely even a game. I'm sorry, this is an in-joke.
that's an S. Yeah, yeah. That is an S.
That
In
looks like
case
the
you're not-
logo for that knockoff Superman in Marvel.
the Sentry.
Century, yeah.
I realized there's one thing I didn't talk about, the downsides to it, and that's if you are one of those players that doesn't like being in twin games or being completely out at evil, not having a choice about it, not having to get that control, it can be a bit of a downer for you because now suddenly people may not want to talk to you. But it's still an S, damn it, don't you?
Well, that's an interesting
I
thing.
mean,
You know what?
he just said why it shouldn't be an S.
When I first started running con games,
that's rude.
the directive that they gave us from TPI, they said, you never want to put a Slayer in a game with a Scarlet Woman, right? And I don't know if you guys are, would you agree with that as experienced players? Probably not, because you go, well, of course, you got a Slayer. The game continues. How fun is that, right? But they said in their directive, new players don't know how to handle and don't want to be out at evil. So I think that is a taste that we all kind of get, that gleeful, like, hey, yeah, try and get me. I fucking dare you. I'm here all day, all night, baby. Viziering it up, right? But I think on that basis, because it's not meant for new players, it wasn't on Trouble Brewing. I think it's going to be a one that y'all are going to have a lot of fun with, and I think you're going to see more interesting scripts where the demon can transfer. I think it makes the imp, along with like if you made a script with a lot of outed evil minions, but then a demon that can bounce around, that's going to be just a ton of fun. Yeah. You're going to be checking under every rock going like, where is this motherfucker? But I believe my dear friend Hayley was trying to get me to tell y'all about something that we're going to be working on here in the future on the podcast. So when we go back, we've run out of roles to rank for a while unless they just give us a bunch more down the line. And they're not going to do it. They're going to drip it out. We're going to be like, oh, let's do a whole hour on the stable boy or whatever.
Spoilers.
The orthodontist. Sorry, that's my placeholder for all roles I can't tell you about. The orthodontist. I can say, I already told you, I was given clearance to say any name of any role, whether it existed or not, as long as I didn't give the role text. I was fine. So what we're going to be working on...
So if you want to know any of the names of the
I will
characters...
tell you all the names. Whatever you come up with the ability, that's on you.
Ask Hayley.
Yeah, don't
ask
I have no idea.
I actually think it'd be a fun game if I tell you a name of a role, and then you go to Hayley and you go, is that a real one? She'll be like... Probably.
She'll be like that? Or, yeah, that's on Kelsey Priest.
Yeah, is it on Kelsey Priest?
So in the future, we're going to be working as a podcast to do something starting with the Blood on the Clocktower cinematic universe, right? Have you ever pictured in your mind these games as a film? No, because you're too busy trying to play the game. Why would you do something so stupid?
But we have too much
We're going to handle
time.
that heavy lifting for you. So we're going to prepare the pitch for Blood on the Clocktower, the motion picture, and so that it can go. I don't know why we're doing this. We're making other people money now, but let's do it. It'll have to have a story credit, story written by a hat. At the end of it.
Isn't that what we do, though, in this
I know
capitalistic
it.
society?
We're
We
givers.
just make money for other people.
I tell you
Wait, are
what.
we being ushered off? Is that what the...
Oh, we don't know.
Is
yet.
Emily
Did they
walking in to
send
tell
the
us
big
we need
boss
to...
to kick us out?
Hey, we like that. We like that.
Ridicule him from the front row.
There's candy there as well.
You're
if
walking
you-
Yeah,
past
there is
the candy.
candy there.
All right.
So what we're going to be doing is taking what our vision, what roles, and Hayley did very masterfully. Vizier, what a striking character in a cinematic universe, right? Someone who everybody's like, oh, we know he's a bad man. We just can't do anything about him because he's got a magic snake staff, right?
Oh, dear. Is this how you picture everyone with a snake staff? Is that what's happening?
Literally
Can we
everyone.
go back to Horny, Tyler?
Yeah.
Look at his snake staff.
What an asp on that guy. That's a snake pun.
Yeah. I got it. I did get it. It's not the problem. Not enough people laugh. Let me explain it to you. That was a joke about snakes.
I think sometimes my accent makes me wonder, maybe I didn't roll the P. Maybe I didn't pop it enough. think I'm complimenting some random man's ass.
I want to know what you in the audience think about the 2 minions that have been released. We talked about the night after that, but any dissenting opinions? Does anybody think it's a C tier?
How about B? Hands raised for B. Which one? Wait. Which one, Emily, on B?
I don't like the Vizier.
Oh.
The Vizier is okay. So here's the thing: it is a new character.
Mm-hmm.
It is currently still being play tested.
Correct.
I've run games with the Vizier, and the evil player is ostracized from the game. So I think it needs a lot of work. I would never classify it as S tier as it stands.
So
But
what?
I also disagree with a lot of your opinions.
So, well, thank you for joining us today.
I don't know that
Can
they
I
can,
just,
I
can we
don't know
just
that they
repeat
can
it
hear
for
us on the recording.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
want to say what Emily said. She said, she can, yeah, she's the boss. She can come up here on this microphone. That's why we laid it out. You want to speak for yourself? Oh, no. Oh, I'm just going to paraphrase.
So you just move your mouth and Tyler's going to talk for you.
So, nice asp over there. This role, as she has playtested, and I think this is fair enough, you get the evil ostracism problem. Anybody ever been in an evil role and out of evil and nobody just wants to talk to you or share anything with you?
Yeah, I love it.
What asshole. Well, Adam wants to be left alone, right? But, that's why we play Evil Twin differently now than we used to. That's why we play a lot of these roles. You should always include your evil players, even if it's just to, keep them in the game.
The number of them that can make a mistake and tell you something they're not supposed to is just talk to your evil. Talk to
Yes.
outed evil. Like, do it. You just get you'll learn if you don't have a great social read, maybe you don't need to. But if you've got any sort of level of being able to pick up on a social read, so what do you think about Steve? What do you think about Steve? Do you think Steve's good? You can kind of get a vibe from them, like, oh, they're struggling to really tell me.
When they clinch up when they're like, no, Veronica, that kind of thing. So the ostracism problem is real, right? I think there was an interesting thing that I saw I've only run one of the games, but Emily said she's run several of the games, and this needs a little bit more two.
Stop telling us to wrap up and get off the stage. This isn't the Oscars. You don't need to play any music for us.
All right.
I've got music I can
We gotta be nice. I know. I put it on the pad over
We
there.
want to know what the audience thinks. So give us time,
all right.
Jesse.
So
They're the important ones.
So 1 second. I do want to give Emily shit. Emily said that Shiz had an issue where Shiz ran the game. I think you just had a storyteller issue, Emily. I think that's the problem. I think you just need to get a better storyteller.
You would know all about that.
So I think that's a valid point, right? If you have a group that's ostracizing evil and they don't, like we already talked about that. If you don't enjoy playing out at evil, then this is not obviously going to be a role for you. Period. End of story. And so that is a good argument. The only strong argument to bump it down, because I think it will be effective, right? And we saw an interesting thing just off the beginning. In one game, the Vizier was doing nominations, and Town goes, "Well, I'm not voting on this."
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, next time I'm going to start nominating people that I definitely don't want you to ever put on the block. Right? And that becomes a very fun meta building thing for your group, and you can see it evolve. And that's what the game's about. Anyway, we've been giving a golf clap, so we're going to go play some golf, everybody. Oh, man, I thought it was just more wrap up.
I was clapping because I agree.
Oh,
Let's be very clear. If someone doesn't stop Tyler, then we are going to keep going for the rest of the con.
And
we're going to still be here. The con's finished. Tuesday morning.
I've got so many more snake puns.
I just have one more thing to say about the Vizier, because
All right.
ostracized evil, it just, oh man, the power naps that you can have.
Well, so there's another way. If you ever decide you go, I don't agree with what's being said here on this here video. If it's a video, you can obviously drop a comment and go, you're idiots. The audience was idiots. Why didn't they rise up and defeat you?
Are you okay?
Or you can always go to @OffMeta tweets at any point in time, day or night. If we're on your mind.
If you're thinking about a sexy ass.
Woo! Look at that ass. You let us know. Other than that, I